Yo, what's down in the hood, homies? I'm Chastity, and I'm here with my mom, and we're doing episode 18 of our podcast series, Everlasting Love. And we have an interesting topic today, one that I've requested before to speak on. It's the topic of abortion. Because it's been on my mind, especially lately, because next week I'm scheduled to fly to Washington, D.C. for the March for Life, and we have some events planned and all that. And I'm nervous about that trip because I'm always nervous about the travel aspect of things. But this topic of abortion and why I'm pro-life is one of the most emotional things and one of the most misunderstood things. Because there are people who, they might be able to get past how weird I look, and they might be able to get past me being transgender or being an autistic nerd who quotes movies at strange times. But then when they find out I'm pro-life, then they take issue with that. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for me to explain it because I get so emotional about this topic.
Right.
So, and then people, they just mock me emotionally, and they just say mean things, and then we stop talking about it, and progress never gets made, because this is one of those issues where people have made up their minds and they don't listen to the other side. Mm-hmm. Now, I have prepared sort of a little speech that I may or may not get to use the whole thing as written, depending on how much time I have. But I wrote it, my mom read it, she thought it was very good. And so I want to begin this episode by sharing this.
And this is something that Chastity may be sharing at the pro-life march.
Yeah, there's a possibility, but I may have to make something shorter as well, which I haven't had time to do. I need to condense the thoughts.
Right.
But here's what I have prepared. My name is Chastity, and I am here to represent the Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance, as well as the transgender people specifically. Many people believe that the pro-life movement depends on a specific branch of Christianity that is full of people who hate gay and transgender people. The media and the pro-abortion lobby continue to promote this because the last thing they want is for us to all work together. Being pro-life is about protecting the lives of the most innocent group of humans, those who have done nothing wrong because they haven't even been born yet. Those who choose to let these children live are making the statement that they should be allowed to live their lives and do what they were made to do, whether or not we agree with the people that they will become. Therefore, the pro-life position is ultimately pro-choice, by allowing these babies to be born and make their choices for better or worse. On the contrary, the pro-choice position cannot in any way respect the choices or bodily autonomy of humans, because the pro-choice philosophy ultimately says it would have been completely okay to murder them in the womb. The only choice offered by those claiming to be pro-choice is abortion. When it comes to choice over who to vote for in elections, whether to homeschool children or choosing to vaccinate these children or not, they often do not respect the choice of the parents. I speak as an asexual transgender person who will not procreate. I have no financial or social reason for being pro-life, yet I speak and write my opinions as part of the Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance, as well as an individual who knows quite clearly that people like me are those most likely to be killed both before and after birth. I do not have the power to make the world understand the unique experience of being lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, or asexual. However, what I can do is tell you that I see parallels between the hate crimes against the rainbow people and the unborn babies. Gay people have historically been murdered, denied housing, employment, and disowned by friends and family. Moreover, they have been accused of being a danger to children. Transgender people are currently experiencing what gay people did years ago. We are murdered or arrested just because we look different or because we use the quote-unquote wrong restroom, even if it does match our biological sex. More often than not, we are told that our identity is not real, but merely a mental illness that can only be cured by murdering us or sending us to conversion therapy until we commit suicide from hopelessness and rejection. However, much to my disappointment, I have seen many of the LGBTQIA people embrace a pro-choice philosophy that said it is okay to murder the unborn for any reason or no reason given at all. Ultimately, I reject that anyone has the right to murder anyone, whether born or unborn, male or female, Jew or Gentile, gay or straight, black or white. I believe that the only reason the LGBTQIA mostly embraces the false pro-choice promises to respect their bodily autonomy. Wait, I think I messed up in how I wrote it. Wait, let me start. Okay, I believe the only reason the LGBT mostly embraces the false promises to respect their bodily autonomy is okay. I messed it up. Whatever. I'll continue.
Can you explain what you were trying to say there in case it doesn't come out right?
Yeah, let's see. Trying to figure out what I was saying here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think there was supposed to be another sentence between here. Basically, the idea is that they've been told by the pro-choice movement that they're about respecting their bodily autonomy, and so the LGBTQIA people, they think that means that they are, allowed to be what they're doing and do with their body what they want, whether that's who they have sex with or whether that's their transgender surgery.
Yeah, it's kind of like they compare that to women having control over their own bodies.
Right.
They want to kill their babies, so they think that's the same thing, and it's not.
Right. It's actually a very different situation. And then I said they can even get some services at Planned Parenthood, but at a price of working with the enemy, which is the actual danger to children, because it makes a profit from killing them. For many of us, the pro-abortion message is the only one we hear because we have not been welcome in church nor seen Christians who act as Jesus taught them to. If the mainstream cisgender heterosexual pro-life people and the LGBTQIA plus community worked together and remembered who the real enemy is, it would lead to a much safer world for all of us. There are many misunderstandings based on false information. People like me and the others in the Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance are a bridge to help the two sides see that we are not enemies by nature, but because we have been given the wrong messages by those who profit from confusing us to win elections or make money from killing us.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is one of those things, what I said about how I have no financial or social reason to be pro-life, that's because this is not part of a peer pressure thing. It's different if you are, for example, a member of the Catholic Church, which they're officially pro-life from what their leaders say, and if that's what you're around. But I'm not pro-life because I had a bunch of people telling me that I should be that way. Nor am I transgender because I had people influencing me to be that way. Because that's what some people think. Oh, well, somebody convinced them to be transgender or gay or whatever. That's what they think. But no, it's actually something that I've always really known and how I am. And similarly with the pro-life thing, that's something that's never changed because I've never agreed with killing these innocent babies. And another thing is I specifically want to call out people who do this thing who say, well, if you are for capital punishment, you can't be pro-life, which is a separate issue. Although I have reasons that I am against capital punishment anyway, but here's the thing is there is a difference between killing those who have done something wrong, who have, for example, murdered other people, and people who have not done anything wrong because they haven't had a chance to live their lives yet. So there's a difference between killing the guilty and the innocent. And while there are some things that should go together. For example, veganism and the pro-life position are one and the same for me. They really are the same, because if the reason that I have to be pro-life for the humans is not because I like humans. In fact, most of them are kind of mean. And even those babies that haven't been born yet, they'll be mean if they live long enough, because they'll learn the evil ways of humanity. But it's not because they are sinful by nature, but because they are taught that way. And many vegans, unfortunately, while they don't want to kill animals, then they're for abortion. And the problem with that is that how can you justify killing one group of innocent living beings and then go and say it's wrong to kill these animals, or vice versa? You can't try to be like, oh, let's not kill the animals, and then, oh yeah, let's kill the babies. People are wildly inconsistent in that way. And the reason people don't want to have the discussion on abortion, and the reason they don't listen, is largely because it makes you question everything. It makes you really think, well, under what circumstances is it ever acceptable to kill someone? And how far does self-defense go? What situations is a self-defense situation? And which is where you are just killing somebody for something that they haven't done, or what you think that they will do 30 years later if they're born.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So basically, I've always been pro-life, but what I found that was most strange is that the churches that I was in, at the time, in my 20s when I was really pondering this issue, is I was finding out they were full of pro-choice people. And I never understood this idea that Christians, if they are living as Jesus taught, if they're really loving their neighbor of their self, if they're really loving, God and loving God's creation, how can they then be like, oh, it's okay to kill the most innocent? I don't think and this is my thing, but I don't think somebody can be a pro-choice Christian or be a Christian and kill any animals. I don't think so. I just don't think it's what Jesus would do. I don't think that it's ultimately God's way or the way things will be in the afterlife.
Yeah.
And although people they may agree or disagree with me on that, the thing is, I really feel like once somebody tries to accept a pro-choice philosophy, if somebody justifies abortion, they have then waived any right, they've given up any right to criticize anyone for anything. Because I can't criticize somebody for killing somebody for being transgender or gay if I'm defending them killing that same person before they were even born. Because we are the same people.
Right.
And some people, they try to say, oh, well, the fetus can't live on its own. It's dependent upon the mother. And because it's dependent upon her, then she has the right to kill it. Well, that would be like me. So you only have one hand, and you can't open all your cans and do things.
At this point,
right.
Hopefully, I'll regain the
you
use
may
of my hand.
you may be able to regain the use of your hand, but that would be like me saying, well, my mom can't do these certain things because she only has one working hand, and she depends on me, and because she depends on me, I have the right to murder my mother. And I'm only saying that because that is literally the logic. If someone's dependent on you, then you have the right to kill them. Or because they're small, their life doesn't matter. That's another thing. Oh, well, it's just a tiny thing. It's not a person yet because it's small. I can't do that either. And you know why? Because when I look at a tiny ant, the tiniest insect that I can see with my eyes, and I see how they have their entire society. They walk around, they collect their food, they communicate with each other. The smallest living thing is still a living thing, and it still has a brain and intelligence, and that's how I see the unborn humans too. Literally every justification, size, level of development, dependency, or environment, all of these different ways that people try to say it's okay to kill somebody, and they use this for the unborn, those also apply to killing adult humans of all ages as well. And that's why ultimately I will not change my position on this pro-life thing, because even though I'm not a big fan of humanity, because most of them do end up evil and they will hurt me, but I also would have to give up everything else. I can't be vegan anymore if I'm pro-choice. I can't have an ethical code, because if it's okay to kill someone for any reason that people can come up with, or without even giving a reason, then all of us kill each other. And even when somebody has done something wrong, people go way too far. It's like, well, somebody said something mean to you, so you go burn their entire village and kill their whole family. That's how people are. People go so far.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people, they try to claim self-defense with things, when really what they're doing is they're attacking people because they're afraid they're going to hurt them. What they may have hurt them, or they might be afraid they're going to hurt them even when they haven't yet. But this is, I feel like if we can't agree that it's wrong to kill somebody who has done nothing wrong, then there's no more discussion to be had.
Yeah. This shows me that we are going to have to go into some other issues, because I'm sure people want to understand, like what you're saying about veganism.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things about that people object to and say, yeah, but what about the sacrifices in the Bible?
Right.
And things like that. If God didn't want animals killed, then how come he ordered that? And see, these are some issues that I'm studying a lot about, so that I can present more answers about those things.
Yeah.
And then also you mentioned about how you didn't think that a baby would eventually do anything bad. And so that tells me you don't really believe in the doctrine of original sin.
Right. What I'm saying is, it's not that they are conceived evil.
Right. And I recently did some study on that concept too, because I have trouble with that. And a lot of the scriptures that they quote to prove that have been misinterpreted, and not the way they've taken them. Like specifically, there's one in the Psalms where David said, "In sin did my mother conceive me," and people take that verse to say he's saying that he was sinful before he was even born. Right. And that is really a misinterpretation of that, because I'm actually studying a lot of stuff in their original languages. So we have a lot of discussions about a lot of these issues that Chastity's just kind of hitting on while he talks about abortion, and why he's against it and all that. But I just wanted to say that I know people are thinking, well, what about this and what about that? And so it's going to take a lot of discussions about all these things, and who knows how long we're going to be having to do this podcast business, but maybe it will be the rest of our lives, because this is something God got us doing.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of questions people have, and I want to help people find answers. Because for one thing, I grew up so confused, and nobody would answer my questions. And when I'd ask questions of my parents, I'd get the most ridiculous answers. And I didn't like growing up in confusion. And so I always tried to make sure I explained things to my kids when they asked me things, and at least on whatever level they could understand. And I just keep digging. I mentioned this before. I just keep digging until I find the answers that make any sense at all. And so there's a lot of things you just brought up that people are thinking, well, yeah, but that doesn't fit because, the Bible says we are all born in sin, and the Bible says, sacrifice animals. And so how does that fit in with not ever killing and eating them? And there's a lot of really heavy things that have to be sorted through over these issues.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about it, Mom. That's exactly my point. See, being pro-life about abortion, it's actually counter to everything we're taught by the Bible, in a way, actually, because it's full of violence. It's full of people killing, especially in the Old Testament, killing the animals in these ritual sacrifices, and going to war and killing people in all these different countries and cities.
Yeah.
And basically, it's countercultural to be pro-life, because then it means that you are a person who will question everything. You question, the military actions of your government. Like, do you really need to attack this country? And what about the innocent civilians who are getting killed by these bombs who didn't do anything?
Right.
And it raises so many questions.
Yes, it does.
And it branches out into all these different ways. And that's part of why it's important.
Yeah, and people that don't want to get into those uncomfortable issues are going to just shut it down.
Yeah, and particularly, this is what I find. It's kind of silly, because what people try to do to me is they will try to use the Bible and say, well, it's okay to kill the babies because babies were killed in the Old Testament, in wars, or God ordered those animal sacrifices. Oh, and we all deserve death because the wages of sin is death, and because Adam and Eve ate a fruit, so we all deserve to die. And people say these kinds of things. But what's interesting about it is these same people would already accuse me of not living biblically because I'm transgender, which technically transgender isn't actually really mentioned in the Bible. But that's the whole thing is, I don't conform to the rigid ideas where people, they accept the English Bibles they have now as they are taught. And as we know, some things were forged, some things were translated wrong according to the author's bias. When they choose which Greek word to translate to English, they will choose whatever matches what they want it to say.
What they believe and what they want other people to believe.
Yeah, and so the thing is, I don't 100% conform to the Bible or any other ancient book, but I think about each issue individually.
Yeah.
And there actually is, now, and people do this too. People try to say, well, the Bible doesn't mention abortion, therefore it's okay. First of all, there's a lot of things like computer programming that the Bible doesn't mention. Because there are things that we do now that simply didn't exist back in those times.
Right.
So the absence of it saying something about a specific issue doesn't mean it makes a statement on anything.
Right, that's true.
Yeah. But specifically the sixth commandment, thou shalt not kill, or in some versions, thou shalt not murder, which technically are two different things. And I want to just briefly touch on that. Because technically, murder is a specific definition of killing, where it's premeditated killing, where you're not killing someone in self-defense, but you've just decided, oh, well, for whatever reason, I'm going to kill someone. So that you plot and you plan how you're going to kill them. It's premeditated.
Or like an accident, which is called manslaughter.
Right.
So, yeah, there are different types of killing.
Yes. There's accidental killing, like if you accidentally step on a cockroach, for example. But then at the same time, there can be an issue where you do have to kill pests as self-defense if they're in your house. But when they're out in nature...
And they're going to make you sick. Or
right.
whatever.
But if they're out in nature, minding their own business, you don't have a justification for killing them. So there's... So now, basically, that's what I'm talking about, Mom. It branches from one thing to another. And so when you're pro-life like me, then you think, well, wait a minute. I probably need to avoid stepping on these ants here. I know it sounds crazy, and
Yeah.
most people are not autistic enough to see the connection as I am, but I literally try to be consistent in all the things I do. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I went vegan, is because I realized that's the pro-life way.
Yeah.
And I could not find a reason, well, how can I say it's wrong to kill these humans, but then, kill the, sheep, cows, pigs, chickens? Like, what sin did they commit? Why do they deserve to die?
Yeah.
Why do they have to be killed in such painful ways too?
Well, see, that's another thing.
Yeah.
They're tortured. They're not just killed.
Yeah.
And that's why we're going to have to cover more about what really goes on.
Yeah.
To help people understand or stand against, animal slaughter, because it's not done in a very humane way either. So it does open up the door to all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
That are all controversial. Of course, everything's controversial anymore. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, somebody doesn't like it.
See, ultimately, Mom, okay, here's another thing that people do. They try to shut pro-life people down, is they say, well, don't get political, don't talk about politics. First of all, as some people would say, everything is political. First of all, I don't know what the definition of political is. All I know is that when you're talking about something that's important, that matters, that's life or death, then people say it's political.
Yeah. Well, it means making policies.
Yeah.
And how we live our life. We're making policies every day, and we have leaders that we vote for that are making policies, and so it's good to know what they believe and stand for.
Yeah.
To see if we line up with that or not.
Yeah, and this also affects how we vote in elections too. Because unfortunately, we're not allowed to, for the most part, we're not allowed to vote on issues directly. There might be specific cases where we get to vote on a certain amendment in a certain state.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're given a choice between, one of two people to vote for in these presidential elections, or we're given a choice on who to vote for in these local elections, but I often don't know who these people are,
Yeah, and they may have so many different viewpoints, and they might have, a pro-life belief, but then they might have some other horrible thing, and so you may not agree with everything, and so a lot of times you're making a decision based on what's what do they say, like the lesser
of two evils,
as
they say.
The lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the lesser of maybe 5 or 6 evils.
Right. Well, and see, here's the thing, Mom, because now if you have a choice, and this is a tricky thing for me, because this is not about specific elections that have happened recently. It's not about individual people. It's about, for future reference, whatever country you happen to be in, whatever your elections look like, if you have a choice to vote for somebody who, like, for example, they are for LGBT people and want to protect them from hate crimes and stuff like that, but then they're pro-choice and they want to justify abortion and legalize it nationwide.
Yeah.
Do you vote for that person, or do you vote for a person who's pro-life, but then they also enact policies that will result in transgender and gay people dying?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a decision that I felt like I had to make in the recent election. And here's what I mean specifically, because there have been policies, there have been executive orders, and throughout my lifetime, there have been, it usually has been from the Republican side, that will make certain laws against gay or transgender people and removing their protections. There's a lot of that happening recently, very recently too. However, I tried to think which is the lesser of two evils. And I thought about it, and I realized it is more important to protect the unborn. And the reason for that is, I may be under constant threat because there are people who are going to kill me for who I am. But the difference is I was allowed to be born and you raised me, and now as an adult, the odds are against me, but I still have a chance to defend myself. I still have a chance to use my brain and my body and to try to defend myself if somebody does try to murder me. But if abortion is legal, then these babies, they never have a chance to defend themselves. They never have a chance to speak. And even if something were to happen to me, like I could even get killed on this trip and never come back. We don't know what will happen.
Yeah.
But at least I've had a chance to live my life for 38 years at this point. And I've had a chance to write so many books and do so many other things.
You've been able to get your voice out there. But that leads into the scripture that God gave me for this podcast. He gave me one in Proverbs 31, verses 8 and 9. And I'm going to read it in the NLT version. It says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed. Yes, speak up for the poor and helpless and see that they get justice." So I thought about it and prayed about what, and that scripture came to my mind, and then I looked it up because at first I didn't remember where it was at. But I noticed there's a lot of things in the Bible that talk about defending the widow and the orphan, and a lot of the things that Israel and Judah got in trouble for that led to them being taken captive and judgment coming on them. It seems like more and more it was more about they weren't taking care of the needy. And God didn't like that. And, there were some other things they were doing, like idolatry and all that, but that seemed to be a big, big issue. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to mention this too because it leads right into some of the other things we've talked about. You know how people use that scripture about Sodom and Gomorrah? Mm-hmm. To say that the sin of Sodom, was, that they were homosexual and all that. Well, the truth is, and we'll get into that another time too, because I promised to go through some of these different scriptures that question those things. And the thing is, people assume that that's what it was about. Mm-hmm. And there are actually other scriptures that tell you what their real sin was that they got judged for. And what it was is they were not concerned at all about the poor. And it was in hospitality. They were letting people come in and they wouldn't feed them, people that were traveling through there, and they were just letting them die on the street. They had no compassion. They didn't take care of the needy. Yeah. They wouldn't give them food. And I think it's in Ezekiel, and we'll get into those, where it says that's what the sin of Sodom was. Mm-hmm. And yet people for many years have been saying, oh, well, they were gay, and that's what they got, judged for. And there's a lot of things wrong with that belief. And like I said, we only went into one of the scriptures so far, but there's 6 main ones in the Bible that condemn homosexuality, and a lot of them have just been built on people's ideas and theories of what it means. And that's where they even get the word sodomy. Mm-hmm. Was invented because people assumed that was the big sin. And whether you believe it's a sin or not, to use that story about Sodom and Gomorrah, you're not seeing the whole picture anyway. And so that came to my mind again, that God over and over in the Bible talks about to take care of people and don't ignore the cry of the needy, and don't just quit caring about people and leaving them destitute. And so, that's just another one of the verses where he says, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. And these babies, one of the versions, it says those destined for destruction. Well, because I read it in several different translations. And there's nobody more destined for destruction than these innocent babies when the law says you can just kill them if you don't want them.
Mm-hmm.
And they are really, it's a very violent death what they do. And I noticed, in the NLT how it said those that are being crushed. That's literally what happens.
Mm-hmm.
When they're taken out, they crush their heads in. And if people knew all the horrible things that are done to these babies, it's something they try to keep hidden and covered up. Because I believe that the abortion people, they know what they're doing is wrong. And they don't care. They're just trying to make money off of it. And they don't really care that they're killing innocent lives at all. And then they get mad at the protesters and act like they're so bad. And I don't know. I'm going to share just one more thing about that. Back before I had Chandler, and I just had my other two kids, we used to go and protest at an abortion clinic. And we stayed out on the street. But, and we had our signs, like I had one that said, "Stop killing babies." It was a stop sign that I made. And we had the kids come with us, Donnie and Charity were with, and they'd hold up their signs. And it was so ridiculous because not only were these abortion people that worked there coming in and out of there, but when they saw that we had, they were saying all kinds of insults, but when they saw that we had our kids with us, they're even bringing their kids with, like we were abusing our kids by having them along with us protesting against it while they're killing kids. Now, does any of that make any sense? Really?
Well, maybe they can't have any kids on their side because they already killed them. Maybe they're jealous.
It's trying to make it look like it's a terrible thing we're doing, but their consciences are bothering them.
Yeah,
you know it because of their behavior. They see the truth and they don't want to face it, so then they project it onto the protesters as though they're the terrible, terrible people.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, many people have gotten violent. That were protesting, and that's not good. And then it makes it look like they're the crazy ones and they're the evil ones because they're attacking these people at their supposed job, and they call it like a clinic, a woman's clinic. When really what it is just an abortion mill. It's a killing place.
Yeah, see, and here's the thing, that this raises serious questions too, because, for example, now, I guess there have been times where people have actually tried to bomb abortion clinics, for example.
Yeah.
Now, when thinking about that specifically, I've thought about this and I'm like, would I do that? No. But at the same time, I can see the reasoning too. Yeah. Because that's what people are taught by our government, that when a certain country does something we don't like, well, we go in and we just bomb their buildings, whatever people that they think are responsible for doing something. And so it's what I'm saying is the same reasoning. So if we were to, if it's okay to, if there's a certain group of people in some country that are doing something they shouldn't and they're killing people, if our government tries to bomb them and to stop them from doing that, how is that any different than when somebody tries to bomb an abortion clinic to stop them from what they're doing?
Well, the thing is, it's different if you're going to be able to rescue those babies. Otherwise, you're just killing everybody, including the babies.
Right.
So,
see, that's the thing, is that the ultimate reason, I asked that as a thought experiment, but the ultimate reason why I'm never for bombings of any buildings or anything like that is because you're always going to kill people who are either innocent or
Yeah.
who have a chance to change from the error of see the error of their ways and change. Like, for example, Abby Johnson. She worked for Planned Parenthood for a long time, but it was when she saw, during an abortion, she saw the ultrasound or whatever, and saw the actual image of the baby trying to get away from the instruments of the doctor that was killing it. And so when she saw that baby was in pain and trying to get away, that was what made her leave the abortion industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard for her because that was how she made her money and everything. And people had to help her get out of the industry like that.
Right.
But basically, that's the thing, is people do change. And I'm getting back to, for example, the capital punishment thing too. Part of the reason that I generally am against capital punishment, even though I do think people can be pro-life about abortion, that's not necessarily inconsistent with being pro-capital punishment.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's a few issues with this. First of all, people are often wrongly accused too. There are people who have been falsely imprisoned and even given death row when they were not the actual person who committed their crime.
Yeah.
There have even been identical twins who have been arrested and killed for what their sibling did who looks just like them.
Right.
And because of the idea of the fact that I don't want the innocent to suffer along with the guilty, that is part of why I hate to say it, but I really think that life in prison is better, because at least there's always a chance that when they see somebody is innocent, or if somebody is reformed and they're not going to commit the crimes anymore, and they can be sure of that, they can eventually be released. And I also think these people should be given a chance to do something, some kind of community service, some way to serve people, or something, or some way to work and do something even while they're in prison. I think there are many different things that need to be reformed.
Yeah.
But basically, I just don't like the innocent being killed along with the guilty, and that's why I can't be capital punishment.
And that's why that's hard to avoid in war.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And you have to. Some of it is to try to protect the innocent. Why wars are fought.
Yeah.
And yet in the process, there's some innocent people that are going to get killed too. So it's a difficult subject.
Well,
and all this stuff is going to take further study and reflection and try to make some sense out of these issues.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing, that's the point, is the abortion issue is that it really does branch out into capital punishment and war and all veganism, all these different topics. It really does. And see, each of these individual issues is an entire field in and of itself. The entire books are written about each of these different issues.
Yeah.
And
but
yet,
it's like this abortion issue is like the root of it, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's the root of it, and it branches out into all kinds of other issues.
Yeah, see, basically, Mom, here's the thing is, my life would be so much easier if I could be pro-choice. That's what I'm saying, is I have no financial or social incentive to be pro-life. My life would be so much easier if I could just trick myself into not caring who lives or dies. If I didn't care who was killed, then I would not be sad about anything. I wouldn't even be vegan if I could convince myself it doesn't matter who lives or dies.
You wouldn't have a conscience either.
Yeah, basically I would have to kill my conscience. I would have to kill my own sense of right from wrong. And I feel like that may be what some people have had to do to keep doing what they're doing.
So it's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
To tell yourself, oh, it's okay, because they don't want to have to worry about it or feel bad about it.
Yeah, that's just the thing about it, is that for me, the fact that I'm pro-life and the fact that I just cannot bear the innocent to be killed, that's just a fact about me, just like being transgender, just like being asexual, and just even my skill with math and computers it's just part of me. I'm always thinking in terms of mathematical things, wanting to count things, doing calculations. It's part of my brain the way I am, and so I've always been pro-life, in spite of the fact that all it's done is cause people to hate me because they want to kill innocent people, and they don't like it when I remind them that it's wrong. And so I don't even talk about it that much. I really don't. But, I go to the board meetings by the Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance, and now here I'm scheduled to fly to Washington, D.C. with them and do some events and stuff. And the reason I wanted to go, even though I'm scared of the travel aspect, it'll be a strange new place around people I don't know and stuff. But the reason I wanted to do it is because I'm tired of being silenced on this issue. I'm tired of having to keep quiet when coworkers at Walmart in the break room on lunch break are talking about it, and I just stay silent.
Yeah.
Because I just know they'll all attack me if I say anything. And
you just get persecuted if you stand up for what's right.
That's why it's important for me, for my own mental health, to be able to go to the March for Life and say, you know what, you people, I agree with you. You other people who came here, you agree that killing the innocent is wrong, and I'm with you. And I'm the last person you expect to see because I'm transgender. I'm with the Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance. They don't expect my kind to be pro-life. But that's just the way I've always been. And my little speech that I have is that we all need to work together. If we can agree on that, we can work together.
And there is another pro-life group over there that is accepting the Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance and working with them, which shows their openness to including your group.
Yeah, see, they invited us to attend their event, the Alternative Pro-Lifers Meetup, and see, they are inviting some people to speak, and so they asked if any of our group wanted to speak. So I won't have time for a long speech or anything. I may need to condense what I wrote to something even smaller if I find the time. But, just the fact that they invited us at all is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And then we also have our own event. We it's called a soiree. It's going to be a dance party, basically. And they're planning to do like the pro-life themed music and have a presentation with that. And there's going to be all kinds of people that we've informed that will be coming. So I'm excited about that. It'll just be nice to be around like-minded people because as it stands, the only person that I can ever talk with about this is you, Mom. You're literally the only person that I can talk about the abortion issue with plainly.
Yeah.
But, that's the thing is I have felt like I've been silenced, and that's one of those things that's sort of like whenever there's a topic, whether it's abortion or whether it is or whether it might be about whatever war is happening in some country, a lot of times I'll see it, like even on Facebook or whatever, and I won't even comment. I won't even say anything.
Yeah,
because I know that, first of all, people probably won't read what I said. And even if they do, then they'll just leave 100 hateful comments, and then they'll call me a pedophile. Because I swear, that's what they do.
Why would they think you're a pedophile when you're trying to protect children?
Well, here's the thing.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't make any sense. But I actually had someone who tried to say that the reason that I am pro-life is because I have a fetus fetish.
Oh,
that I was supposedly sexually attracted to the unborn child.
Oh, come on.
People say this. People actually
That's as ridiculous as anything I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing. But see, here's what Mom, this is the way of social media. If you say something that's true and people don't like it, then here's what they do is they go to your profile picture and look at your body. Then they start making fun of the way your body is. And then they say, oh, well, you look like a pedophile. Well, what does one look like? And see, that's the thing is that people, what they do is they try to when somebody is saying some truth or something they don't like, then they try to find a way, an ad hominem attack, to attack that person. It's like, well, you're wrong because you're ugly, or of course, what they'll do is oh, well, you're gay or you're transgender, and so it doesn't matter. Well, you're mentally ill because you're transgender and you'll never be a real woman. And then they say, well, trans women can't get pregnant like a real woman. It's like, dude, I wasn't trying to get pregnant, man. Like what's your issue?
Yeah, it's just, well, who are the insane ones?
Right.
The people that are trying to talk plainly about things, and other people that come along and make all these kind of weird accusations.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And which is mental illness?
I know.
Really.
Yeah, it's strange because you remember how I shared in a previous podcast about how that team lead that was harassing me and and asking me if I wanted to have kids, and I said, well, maybe someday I'd adopt. He says, no, I mean have kids in a way like pedophilia. And I'm like, it's why in the world would he say this? And he also had questioned me about my pro-life views before too, because that's another thing. Because he had gotten onto my YouTube channel and seen my talk with Anastasia. So then he was questioning me about the abortion thing, and that wasn't really something he needed to be doing while I was working anyway. Why is he questioning me about that? Because I don't talk about that at work. But
yeah, you know what? It's almost like people want to waste your time.
Yeah.
To keep you from doing the good you're trying to do in this world.
Yeah, they try to sidetrack me. And more often in recent times is I've just tried to just ignore it because I see what people are trying to do. They will just try to argue with me. They'll try to bring up things with the intention of getting me upset.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I think he was trying to do is, I think he was trying to get me to be upset, get me to go crazy and quit my job. That's what I think he was trying to do. So that my presence wouldn't remind him of how he might be wrong about an issue. I think that's what people do. They try to eliminate people by, finding some way to scare them off or to make them be seen as crazy, to chase them away.
Yeah. Just
like they try to get rid of the unborn babies. People are still trying to get rid of me in different ways. They can't abort me.
Yeah.
And the only person who would have had the ability to do that would have been you, because it was legal to abort me, but you didn't want to because you wanted your baby.
I wanted my baby.
Yeah, and that's why I'm here.
And I still want you in spite of your messy hair.
Yeah. Hey, I brushed my hair. My mom made me brush my hair before this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, why bring any more hate crimes, that we don't have to.
Right.
By someone who doesn't like my baby's hair. See, how come we end up joking even after we talk about the most upsetting things?
I swear it makes no sense.
But it's almost like we automatically want to lighten things instead of just leaving everybody with this awful feeling like, oh, this is just horrible. What's going on in the world?
I know. Well, part of it is a load just feels lightened. I feel like I just let a load off. Like I feel lighter because I have to keep this inside far too much. I'm thinking about these things, and I never get a chance to talk about it. So it feels good to actually talk about it.
Yeah, but then we don't want everybody else to take that burden and think, oh, I wish they hadn't brought that one up. That's depressing.
Yeah, and also I think, we don't know who might listen to this, but if you're out there and you're like me, you might be of the LGBT people, for example, and you might not agree with the political or ethical views of those people at large, because people are allowed to have different opinions. For example, there's a common movement right now in a lot of LGBTQIA people. They're trying to legalize sex work. They're trying to legalize prostitution in places and stuff like that. And part of that is because that's the only way some of them can make their money.
Yeah.
Because they're denied housing, employment. They're not able to make any money unless they prostitute themselves.
Well, there's got to be a better alternative than that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because that's not good for anybody, and that's a very dangerous thing to have to do. So instead of leaving people where that's their only option, there's got to be better ways to help people.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. That's why society needs to get over their attitude about transgender people and gay people, because literally people have been denied. They've applied for housing and been denied because, we don't accept transgender people here, or as my friend just last night put it, that one that I was talking to, is like, well, they've been applying for other part-time jobs with nothing but rejection, and what they hate is when someone says, we're a family company, and what that means is they claim to have family values, which means that they don't accept transgender people. Yeah. And so, because this person is also transgender, they've been looking for another part-time job because they're part-time with Walmart. And they can't get full-time either. That's another thing. They're going through a struggle. So, but I just don't think that trying to legalize prostitution is really going to help them.
It's not going to help anybody.
Yeah. Instead, what it actually does is it just sends the message to society that these people really are just sexual deviants, and that they are all about sex.
Right.
And I'm trying to show people a whole different side to it. Because for me, that's not what it's about. It's not about having sex with everybody, which I'm not even having sex with anybody. So that's what's strange.
And you don't even want to.
No, I don't want to. I don't have time for that anyway. Where would I have time for that? Between work and school and computer programming and all and sleeping, how would I have time for that?
That's like, people have said to Chastity, they have to stay away from her because of her sinful lifestyle. And it's like, okay, which part of my lifestyle is sinful?
Yeah, is it the part where I work at Walmart, or is it the part where I write assembly language programs, or is it doing podcasts with my mom? What is my sinful lifestyle that they are rejecting me for? Because I'd like to know.
Mm-hmm. And there really is discrimination. In jobs, even though there's not supposed to be, because we've experienced some of that, and other people have too. It's just that they try to say it's for some other reason to cover it up, and if you can't prove it was discrimination, they get away with it. Yeah, and so that does go on.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible to prove these things. However, as you remember, that was one of my issues with Hy-Vee, is that they were discriminating. Yeah. They were discriminating against certain people, and I do think that one manager was fired because she was gay, because it was after she got
And then they were trying to get rid of you because you stood up for it.
Yeah, because I knew it, and I brought it up, and they didn't like it. And I knew
And they didn't like you anyway because you were transgender.
Right.
So.
And so I know what it's like to go from being somebody who's respected with the company, then being transgender, and then the respect just goes out the window. Yeah. So I know the difference in treatment. And some people have been able to witness that. Transgender people have a unique experience because, for example, trans women, they see the respect go down. And then they start seeing themselves sexualized and objectified, and violence committed against them, just like regular women do. Yeah. And then trans men, the women who become men, once they look enough like a man and they have a deep voice and everything,
then people start treating them with more respect.
People start actually listening to what they say when it's the same thing they've always said, and so then they get to experience the male privilege aspect of it. Right. So there's a real difference in how men and women are treated, and transgender people are basically doing sort of a Black Like Me scenario. Like that one book about that guy who would paint himself black and then see how black people got treated. Right. Transgender people are doing that in modern times, where they're going to the other gender and they get to see how they're treated. And ironically, it just shows how the differences are, and that's the problem. men and women should not be treated differently. We should not be respecting one group and not another. We should not be committing violence against one group for who they are anyway. And if people would treat others like equals and quit being violent, then it wouldn't matter who was male or female or whatever hybrid combination of them.
Okay. So, do you feel better now too because you got that out?
Yeah, I feel much better.
Okay, so even if people think you look ugly, at least you got to say your piece.
Yeah, but my mother is pro-life, and so I'm here whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and God loves ugly people too.
Yeah, ugly lives matter.
There we go. Ugly lives matter. Because you were saying how some people just pick on you and say, well, you're ugly, so I'm not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Now that's a good one. You know what? When you have you don't brush your hair and your hair's all over the place, maybe we should have a sign on you saying ugly lives matter before people criticize you for being ugly. So you're usually not ugly, but sometimes you just kind of let yourself go. I love that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I think we said everything, didn't we?
I hope that's enough.
Yeah.
Everybody else out there is probably saying, yeah, that's enough. I don't want to hear any more of this. I don't know why we do this to you audience, but we give you a hard time too sometimes by the stuff we say.
Yeah.
And we do tend to get silly toward the end. It's like we automatically know everybody needs some comic relief. We talk about a lot of very, very difficult subjects. And so if you can't laugh about something after all that, then you just do go crazy. So we have to do something to take care of our mental health by using humor once in a while. And just looking at this creature gives me plenty to laugh about.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess we said everything we need to say. Is there anything else we forgot?
I'm just going to reread this scripture because this is the main message that God has for everybody. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed. Yes, speak up for the poor and helpless and see that they get justice. That applies to the unborn. That applies to other people, transgender people, or anybody else who's being mistreated. And nobody listens to them and they can't speak up for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we all need to be an advocate for other people that need us and need our support. And so I just felt like that's the main thing God wants to say to everybody.
Okay. Well, goodbye, everybody. Stay tuned for future episodes. And who knows, if any of you are going to the March for Life next week, you might even see me.